I was taking a business law class in college, and the professor was a lawyer who'd been a trial attorney, and he was talking about a medical malpractice case that he had, and he had like X-ray with like a person, like, a clamp inside their body or something. And so he's at the printer shop. They're just going to trial. He's at the printing shop, and he's like, "Oh, I need this printed out so I can show the jury." And they're like, "How big do you want it?" And he's like, "Well, how big can you make it?"
Bruce.
Hey, Andrew, how's it going?
Going great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. Where are you based out of currently?
I live in Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C.
Nice. Okay. So you're part of the national practice, right? For doing the global incentives?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's talk about, so Andrew, watch your career. I introduced you to our audience. You have a very interesting career where you did your LLM, then you went in, interned, and worked at the IRS as well, worked for like the tax code, interned for a judge. Then you spent time at Deloitte, and now you're leading incentives at A&M. Based on all of that, I just want to start from the beginning. What drew you to tax, and why that in the first place? Was it always a plan, or did you just come across it? Did somebody mentor you towards that?
So I studied accounting in college. I did VITA there doing taxes. I did the Arthur Anderson Tax Accounting Challenge. Back then, that was a thing. And so I went to law school from there, took a number of tax classes, and my plan at the time was to go to the IRS. And I didn't get a job in the IRS right away, so I was doing corporate litigation for a little while, kept applying to the IRS, and my tax experience was getting more and more stale. So that's when I decided to go back into the LM. And in the LM program, I really focused on tax controversy. I wanted controversy. So I took every class I could and then moved out to Houston, never having even been there before in my life, to get the job I wanted, because that was exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah. Okay. So then, side question, what is the Arthur Anderson Challenge? What did you do? What do you perform on it?
Arthur Anderson Tax Accounting Challenge was a college tax competition, and you'd be in teams of 4, and you'd go in and you'd have a tax problem, and you'd have your own Arthur Anderson copy of the tax code, and you got some swag, and you just have to spend, I don't remember how long anymore, but you'd spend a significant amount of time working as a team to do it. So the first year was our school's first year doing it. And two of us hadn't even taken tax classes, but they were going to get us ready for the next year. And so it was you can only do so much when you haven't taken tax class yet. But the second year we were able to do better. And it wasn't like there were a lot of rounds, so we didn't make it to we didn't win or anything.
Yeah. And now with AI, you could get it done within a few minutes, right? That would have taken hours back in the day.
Yeah. And you get something in a few minutes. I don't know if done is the right descriptive word.
Okay. So then, why specifically IRS? What stood out about you? Was it something from your childhood that wanted you to work for that?
No, not really. I mean, it's just, coming from law school, the government was at the time anyway, viewed as a very good place to start your career. Spend a few years there, then you go somewhere else, and everyone would value your time there. Kind of like Big Four in accounting, right? There used to be job postings would be Big Four. And so whatever you're going to do, it's they're going to be happy to see Big Four on there.
Gotcha. Okay, so you wanted that brand recognition and brand value,
and also completely different situation than you're going to be in at any other firm, right? You're seeing a totally different side and seeing how the process works.
And then, so what were you doing once you were doing at the IRS? And also, I'm really curious, what does a tax code internship look like on a day-to-day perspective? Is it just are you helping write summary judgments? Are you helping draft up those judgments? What were you specifically doing?
So the tax court, I was the judge's first intern. I was kind of like a clerk light. So I had one case that was kind of, it's none of our cases, right? It's all the judge's case, but it was kind of mine to do just like the actual clerks would have had. So he gave me a pretty easy, straightforward case. And I, went through volumes of facts and wrote up, talking to the judge. I wasn't making the opinion up myself. So I did that. I worked on some footnotes for some bigger projects where you just sort of side quests on tax law. And I, write some footnotes, and Yeah, I wasn't doing like a lot of like day-to-day drafting, just regular orders or anything.
Yeah. And then how would you describe that overall experience? Would you like say like it set you up for the career, or is it like everything you expected? Was it different?
I mean, I think it did in a way set me up for the career, because then kind of on the strength of that internship, I got the internship at the IRS the next semester in my LM program. And so I was able to, step right from there into that. And then having both those internships and my prior DOJ tax experience, combined with all my controversy classwork, I was as good as it gets from a controversy perspective going out on the job market.
When you were in college and doing those controversy, all of those classes, any particular case that stood out to you as like a student? You're like, this one's really interesting. I want to like read more into it, or like something that caught your attention because there's always a time when I was in college, like there was like my college professor would tell me all these stories. And I still remember the IBM 10K, the first time he showed it to me like yesterday. And that's like the first time it hit me that I wanted to work out.
I wouldn't say tax. I would say with law. I was taking a business law class in college, and the professor was a lawyer who'd been a trial attorney. And he was talking about a medical malpractice case that he had. And he had like X-ray with like a person, like, a clamp inside their body or something. And so he's at the printer shop. They're just going to trial. He's at the printing shop. And he's like, oh, I need this printed out so I can show the jury. And they're like, how big do you want it? And he's like, well, how big can you make it? And so he has this like walking to the courthouse with this like huge picture of like super incriminating evidence. And I think I was just like drawn to the fact, there's in the law, there's like all these complicated rules and cases you have to know, but there's also like the psychological, creative, things that you can build in and sort of, sort of like you can add your own little twist to it.
So then did you want to be a trial attorney at that point?
No, I've never really wanted to be a trial attorney. I guess the IRS doing like the tax court or doing the field office internship was trial attorney work.
Gotcha. And then okay. So now you're at the IRS's chief counsel's office. What does that experience look like? What are you doing? And you're like, am I going to stay here? This is my life now, because you didn't stay there. So like what changed?
So I was at the IRS. I was at a field office. They are the ones who litigate in tax court. Okay. So I was like on the other side, going through drafting answers, doing research, writing bankruptcy memos for the Department of Justice for their bankruptcy tax cases they had. And just the way that they were hiring through the honors program. And to get into the honors program, you couldn't have worked before. And since I'd worked before, I just wasn't eligible. So people were like, oh, you should apply. And I was like, I want to. And I tried. I printed it myself and I went to the main office and I said, hey, I don't think I'm eligible, but everyone says I should do it. So like, in case I am, here's my application. And they were
okay.
So if I could have stayed there, I would at the time, but they just weren't hiring.
Okay. And then you got into Deloitte.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because Deloitte, you spent 11 years over there. You were in controversy. You wanted to do controversy, but then you spent the time doing R&D credits. Why the pivot over there? And what pulled you in? What was it about R&D credits? Is it more like there's more ways, as you talked about the medical malpractice, the way to show your different positions? It's very unique. You have to get creative, or? It
was largely life that pulled me out of controversy. So I did 4 years, doing IRS audits. I really liked it. I went to the National Tax Office for 2 years in the controversy practice. I was, consulting across the country. But then my wife works in politics, and DC was going to be a better place from Houston. So we wanted to stay. And there wasn't a local practice in the controversy group. So I had to pick a different group. So, it wasn't all bad, because at the time the IRS funding was getting slashed. Audits were going way down. So there's fewer audits. And in an accounting firm, if you're a partner and your client is under audit, but your staff don't have enough hours, you're not going to call the controversy team. You're just going to do it yourself. So you have to be out there selling in the firm and trying to get them to bring you on the project, because it's all about revenue and who's doing the work. So it wasn't a terrible time. And like I mentioned before, people really like government experience. And we were hiring at one point for a senior manager in the controversy group. And I saw them discussing, it's like, oh, we want someone who's at IRS or at DOJ tax. It's like, they just wanted someone from the government with government experience. Full stop. They didn't want like the homegrown people. So, and so it's also, it's like, I was probably going to be limited somewhat. Because the client doesn't want to hear, if you bring in, they want to bring in, oh yeah, Jim was at the IRS for 20 years. He's going to come in and consult on this project. They don't want to hear Andrew. He's been at Deloitte for 20 years. They're not going to care about that, right?
Okay. So they want to, so it's like a credibility kind of thing too, right? You come back from the IRS, you've seen it, you spend it.
Yeah, you get that brand name, and clients will respond to that. And in the National Tax Office, you're there to swoop in and save the day or take the blame, whichever.
Yeah. So interesting side note, but do you know, I was reading the ex-CEO of Goldman's, like his book, his memoir, and he started off as a tax lawyer where he worked with music companies, the record players, to get them R&D credits back in the day. So that was his first foray before he went into trading, and then he was a commodities trader and made his way up. But that's such a unique side note that his career, and he said that learning about R&D credits was really unique as an experience when he began his service.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a need to be a commodities trader, but it was a nice transition from controversy because it's really in the data. Like most core tax people are just getting trial balances, right? They're not getting general ledger detail. So you're really digging in. You have a lot of different data. The data is always coming in different forms year over year, and you have to just dig through it and figure it out. And so the same in controversy. And then it's also a highly audited credit. So I like to think my IRS auditing experience helps just to help frame the studies and the work that I do.
Any interesting war stories during that period of time? Like, what was the R&D experience like? Was it exploding during that time? Were you working on a particular industry? What was the most fun that you had over there?
I don't know that I have any war stories that'll be especially entertaining. Most of my clients were software clients. It's interesting. I like learning about new technologies people are doing. It was interesting seeing people coming in with AR and VR stuff they were incorporating their products. And now obviously AI is a big thing. It's been kind of interesting seeing sort of the progression of technology too. Like when I started doing R&D, people were doing data lakes and they were trying to figure out how to, read and write at the same time from these huge databases. And they were spending a lot of time doing that and doing continual releases on their software projects was new. And so you had to figure it out. Whereas now AWS handles all the database rewriting. So no one has to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, this is interesting because I was just reading about Databricks and how that team got started with the Apache framework, which they had the data lakes, which is a mixture of the data structure and the data lakes, and how they open sourced it for everyone and how they worked upon that. Took me a second to really understand. I'm like, okay, what exactly is a data lake? And how that system structured? Because in my head, I thought it was, it's just giant databases.
I can't answer a lot of follow-up technology questions. I know sort of about technology, but I pick up stuff here and there. But yeah, I couldn't describe in great detail what they are.
So you started off, were you specific to an industry? So were you a lot of tech? So you did AR, VR, you did those data lakes. Now did you do AI at that time too?
Yeah, I mean, we have software clients and whatever they're working on, those are the issues we're talking about. So, and I also had some manufacturing, heavy manufacturing. And those are different from a study. I mean, maybe a little bit less interesting. I like the software ones a lot.
Gotcha.
But it's a lot more work to do in manufacturing because they don't have all their time tracked. You have to go in and pull teeth and, it's oh, you're working on this. Bob over there is working on it, so you go talk to Bob, and he says, oh, yeah, we do this. But people don't appreciate, it's harder to get a big picture, so you have to really go and talk to people.
Okay, how are you enjoying your time at A&M? How is it different than what you were doing previously? I know A&M is growing in that sense. It's they've hired a lot more people over the last few years. You've seen that change come around. They're growing in that sense too.
Yeah, A&M they're hiring people all the time. It's hard to keep track of what everyone's doing because there's just constantly new people coming in. As far as the actual work itself, it's pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the people I'm working with a lot. And even though Deloitte was a big company, I wasn't allowed to work with staff from other offices because then those offices get the revenue. Whereas we're a truly national team and I can work with anyone. So in some ways it's actually, even though it's a smaller team, it actually I have more flexibility because I can just grab whoever is free to work on stuff.
Gotcha. Are you building your own team right now, or did you?
Yeah, we're hiring. We have an intern starting and a new hire starting next week, I think.
Yeah. What's your philosophy? What do you think? Do you follow a leadership philosophy as you're growing more and more into these roles? What do you think helps you become a better leader and growing teams in this industry?
I mean, I don't know that I subscribe to a leadership philosophy that I could just articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sorry.
No, thanks.
I mean, I know I see like a bridge between like the older generation and they like get upset when someone leaves and really focus on how it like affects them. Whereas like people are going to leave and I'm not like mad at them for leaving. Now, if they just like storm out and don't like give notice or anything, that might not be as cool. But like, I definitely don't expect people to make career decisions based on me. So, we've had some people leave to go to different places for, whatever reasons. And I don't like bear any ill will. And some people just R&D doesn't really appeal to them. Some people want a more broad traditional tax experience. And so I think, being able to have people figure out what they like. And if there's something they like about R&D or tax, they can like embrace it and just be able to do the part of it that they like, on a regular basis. Yeah, I mean, as far as just general leadership, I think, I'm basically giving people feedback and bringing them into the process. I see a lot of times people cutting out lower level people to like save on hours or whatever, but I really want people in the meetings. I had a client want a fee, they were talking about fee reductions and I was talking to them and I brought in a brand new hire and was like, hey, just listen, this will be interesting for you probably. Just listen to me talk to the client and figure out like whether we should like, how we can handle the finances. And so I want people like to see what I do because I really want to be replaced. I want to find someone who can do my job and I don't have to worry about it. And then I can move up and I can go sell more. Right. I don't want to do all the work if I can get someone else to do it.
Yeah. How much do you think like your time split right now between working and selling and then working on like doing the technical work? Or do you think in this new paradigm that we are right now where everybody has to work and sell, like, do you think that role, because there's not truly a salesperson role anymore in this industry, or do you think you disagree?
No, I agree. And I think that's one of the things that A&M is doing, right? They're pulling people from other firms who have these relationships and then trying to bring the firm in. Yeah, I mean, as far as, right now, I'm doing a lot of client work just because it's a busy season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, from a broader perspective over the course of the year, I'm spending a significant amount of time doing business development, whether that's talking to existing clients or my old clients or greenfield.
Yeah.
As far as selling, I think AI and like tax platforms are going to grab a lot of like I say lower end, not in a condescending way, but like the smaller ones where, they're not going to hire a big firm. It's not really worth it. And so those people and businesses are going to be happy with a more automated approach. It's much less, but our clientele is going to still value, relationships and having someone else do it, not have to worry about it or think about it themselves.
No, makes sense. I want to like pick up on like your ideas, like your relationships, because sometimes there have been like exclusively R&D credit mills which have burned those clients or have burned those relationships with the clients. They promised them something and they overpromised and underdelivered, and clients have been like skeptical about that. How do you work through that skepticism if you're taking on a new client?
I mean, sometimes you don't. I've had prospects who have come in and want to, those mills have been their clients before and they are accustomed to claiming very, very large credits. And we look at the contracts and say, sorry, we think, your credit's not going to be as big, and then they don't hire us. But, those aren't the clients we want anyway. So yeah, I mean, I think, and not to say those credit mills, I'm sure they have like some talented people there who are providing good customer service and they're providing a good product in some cases. I know there's a lot of court cases that people lose, and, you can say some of them are maybe not good, not the best cases. And so maybe the R&D side of it maybe was ill-advised, but
I want to talk about like what do you think on, so we've obviously seen IRS funding get cut. Their audits have decreased, and they're also taking a lot longer to close. But how do you see it from an R&D perspective that you're seeing? Are they coming under more scrutiny, less scrutiny? Do you think there would be more scrutiny in the future with how it shapes up?
So I've heard that actually that they've been pretty aggressive at closing a lot of cases that have been sitting out there for a long time, but that they were still opening up new ones. And maybe it's just the really old ones they were closing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it definitely affects them. I think R&D credits are a big area for them, especially because of cases they've won. They get emboldened and, they can find some dollars there, they feel.
Yeah.
I know that they're using AI now too. And so that is another leverage that they have, that they can maybe do a lot more with fewer people and fewer resources. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, again, our business model isn't to escape audits. So, if we get audited, that's not the end of the world for me. I'm used to doing audits. I'm doing work with an eye towards sustaining the work in the audit. So I'm not that concerned about IRS activity.
Interesting. And then, so talk about that process. Now, if they're using AI, so that means they're mostly looking at not a sample size anymore. Now they're looking at all of it. So how do you think the documentation burden has changed?
Well, I mean, just based on the case law, and I don't know how much you know about R&D credits, the case law in the past had some good nuggets for taxpayers because Congress had specifically said there aren't specific documentation requirements. And the IRS has lost cases saying that, they don't, where the IRS wanted more contemporaneous document or proof of activities, and courts have allowed it. No, these after the fact surveys are okay. So they're kind of getting away from that. And the IRS is winning on arguments that there isn't enough documentation and that the people saying that there was R&D are biased and you're just self-serving. So that's not good. So there's definitely should be more of a focus on documentation. Again, I don't know. I don't even think that's that much related to AI as much as it is just related to the cases.
Now, I want to go retrospective now. I want to think about, let's say you were back in college again, you're taking your accounting classes and you're about to graduate. What would you tell yourself from your experiences? What did you learn? What would you tell yourself to focus more on or worry less about? Because some of the listeners are getting out of college right now. They're graduating, going into the corporate world. What would you tell them or tell yourself at that point?
I would say, I guess one of the biggest things is cultivate your professional network. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had I did internships, accounting in college. I didn't keep in touch with those people. I worked with people at the DOJ and tax, and I never contacted them. And so, you can't just ping them 10 years later and say, hey, I worked for you 10 years ago. They're not going to remember you. So, get on LinkedIn, send people notes every year. Just keep in contact with people. You don't have to hang out with them and invite them to your birthday party or anything, but just cultivate the network. And the first they hear from you shouldn't be you asking for something. It should be you just staying in touch. And then and then likewise, when you start, especially if you're starting an accounting firm or law firm, the people you work with, it's great working remotely, but you want to get to know those people. Those people are going to hire you in the future. They're going to be your clients. And so that is a really valuable professional network. I mean, everyone, I know works with clients where the partner went to, started out in public accounting with the CFO. And so those you want to be that person someday with connections who work in places that you can hire.
Yeah. So what has helped you most in your sales journey as you change from doing the work into the sales role? Anything because what I felt I wasn't getting, there's no sales program that you join when you join the Big Four, right? So, and you have to cultivate those skills, those marketing skills, and being able to get close to people. What helped you achieve that?
It's funny because when I didn't do any sales in controversy, and I was in the National Tax Office. So, new case or guides would come out. I'd write a really detailed, summary of it. And, my boss would read it and make sure I didn't miss any possible exception. And there was all the caveats were there. So when a new R&D thing came out just after I had joined the R&D practice, my boss who's really in sales asked me to do a summary of it to send to clients. I'm I do this all the time. I can do this. I wrote a really detailed one. He's oh no, we can't send this to clients. They want here's your opportunity, all these exceptions and caveats, take those out. Here's the opportunity and just 3 bullet points. So you're not trying to educate them about the entirety of the law. They shouldn't go away. Don't feel like they need to go away knowing every little exception. You're just sharing a little bit and there's a time for the future to do all the detailed scoping and go through all the exceptions, but it's not at the beginning.
Really fun stuff. Okay, one of the questions I always ask our guests, and this is my favorite ones to know about too, is when you're done with tax, what are you going to do? What do you want to do with the rest of your life once you're done with tax?
Well, assuming I am ever done with tax. I mean, if my doctor told me I couldn't do tax anymore and I had to switch careers, I mean, I think I'd like to do technology consulting. I mean, obviously AI makes it a lot easier, but I've always been interested in, using tech to help out with things. And there's a lot of tools out there, even besides AI, that I think people have access to and should use more. So I think it would be fun to work with like individual people and like small companies who are trying to automate things and like be better at using the tools that are available so they can really leverage their, what they bring as people to their jobs.
Yeah. Like if you could only focus, let's say you have the Andrew Tax Consulting LLC, you can only focus on one aspect. What's that one aspect of technology automation you're doing for people? The use case that you know better than 99% of people in the world.
I would say within like the Microsoft environment, using Power Query and, in conjunction, Power BI and SharePoint, you can build, even as a non-tech person, automations and tools that really combine and work with the data that you probably have available in the company that are just sitting on separate systems.
So do you take basically the information from Snowflake, Alteryx, or Databricks and bring that in and build on top?
Not even that sophisticated. So what I like, an example of something I did, we have a time tracking system, right? I can go in and I can pull hours and I can see who charged whatever projects.
Mm-hmm.
We also have like a completely separate spreadsheet that we track our budgeted hours on. So if I need, X staff for 20 hours a week in August, I'll go put it on there so we can, plan our projects, make sure, they're going to be profitable, and also make sure the staff aren't, are being used. But those are separate systems, and it's hard to like combine those two. So I can pull the thing and I have to like sit there and look, and it's like, oh, this person charged 5 hours and I budgeted for 20. Like, why aren't they working on my projects? So I just made a Power Query thing. I have to go in and download the time tracking, the time dump. It takes me 2 minutes. I put it in a folder, and then I open up a Power Query spreadsheet and refresh it. It finds the most recent file in that folder, extracts all the data, matches it up with the planning data, and then can tell me like projected profitability for all the projects based on hours billed to date and every budget in the future, which shifts, as the day goes by, and also where everyone's working like budget to budget to actual variances. Just like that. Where it's like, that takes up time. I mean, theoretically you do it every week, but like you don't have time to do that every single week.
Yeah. So then, okay. So are you the resident Power Query expert of the team?
Yes, I'm the Power Query advocate. It's a short learning curve. There's some really helpful things you can do.
Yeah.
I think the danger is like it does so much for like me to sit down and be like, oh, it does this and does that and that, and then overwhelms people. But if I just take one thing, like unpivoting a table, it's like it takes like a minute to do, and that's not something that's easy to do just by hand.
No, completely agree. Like the first time I got my hands on Replit to start building applications, and I spent the entire weekend and I burned through like maybe hundreds of dollars of credit, and I'm just typing. I'm like, oh, I wanted to build this app, I wanted to build that app. And then with that, I had like 10 basically half-baked ideas that I was building up. But I'm like, oh, this is powerful. And then now I do that with like Claude Code. Like anytime I need to build a website, it takes me like 5 minutes to go ahead and type it up and I'm there. Yeah. No, completely get that. So, but technology consulting. So one day I'll look forward to like Andrew Tech Consulting with R&D credit. And then you provide them R&D credits on top of it for the tech consulting.
I think there is definitely something there, especially with AI implementations.
Yeah.
So much time across like high level people are doing that. If you can capture that time, you can check on evaluate the AI program better because you have more data and get money back from it. So
yeah, no, completely get it. Yeah, a wide array and like so much to like explore right now. But this has been great. Learned a lot. Really glad to have you on. And listeners, thank you for our listeners. And thank you so much, Andrew.
Yeah, it's great being on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Yeah, Bruce.